Terrible housing quality and affordability. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your morning coffee and let's have a look at an article which is discussing two issues that I think, are top of mind for a lot of people. Housing, affordability, and poor quality housing among the top issues for young renters. And, we're going to talk about particularly some ideas and solutions to the quality issue, particularly in the multi-res or apartment sector. If you're new to the channel, have a look at the construction playlist. There's a lot of buildings with construction issues that we've looked at again and again and again. And just recently, on a Twitch show, and that's where I'll segue to the sponsor so smoothly, which is the HeiseSays Twitch channel, and our next show is Freedom Friday. We also have a show on Monday where Rachel and I discuss different things. This past Monday, we discussed the Florida condo collapse. And looking at the engineering reports from a few years ago, they were aware of some serious structural issues, particularly in the pool deck and concrete cancer. And essentially, a lot of the Rio was rusting away. So, construction quality is an issue and a big concern. That is the most dramatic outcome of dodgy quality, or really, the issue is more to do with maintenance. One thing that really stood out was the pooling around the water on that job. It couldn't drain away, so it had to evaporate. That led to issues, apparently. So let's start by looking at the current asking rents, everyone. We could see in Melbourne, rents for apartments have gone down. All units 361, two bedders 385. For houses, it's jumped up to 514. Sydney, there you go. So in October, they were down for all houses, and now it's climbed right back up to 678, three bedders, $708. Apartments as well have remained pretty flat and are still, 475. How far back? So we're at 2015 levels for apartments, guys. 2015 levels, so 5 years behind. So there has been a bit of a correction. Brisbane, look at houses. Boom, over $514 for all bedders, for all of them, and $480 for three bedders. So apartment houses are getting more expensive here in Brisbane. I'm hearing the same thing. Look at apartments climbing up, even with the oversupply of apartments in South Brisbane. So there you go, guys. Share your rental stories in the comments. So let's look at housing affordability, everyone. Now, this chart is showing us where if you have, where your income sits. If you're in the 20 percentile of income, you have access to, here in the orange area, 40% of the Greater Brisbane housing stock at 30% of your disposable income. Now, you can see Brisbane's the only one here where any of them are able to be purchased, with a few in Perth. And this is from the 6th month of 2020. So it may have gotten a bit worse. But there you go. Look at Sydney. Look at Melbourne. Look at Adelaide. There you have it. Housing affordability is certainly an issue. We can see here the increases in property. In Sydney, what would have been a deposit these days in 1990 could have got you a house. $173,000. That's a deposit. Just think about that. And you would have had better interest rates as well back then to save for your deposit. Brisbane, $106,000. $106,000. So Sydney's up 565. Brisbane 518%. And it's the same. Look at the apartments. Same thing, everyone. You can see house price indexes. New Zealand is just going insane. USA and Canada. UK, Sweden, many countries are skyrocketing with their property costs. So let's have a look at this article to see what the issue is. And I'll just have a shot of coffee. That's good coffee. Good morning coffee, that one. The cheap Aldi instant coffee. had a neighbour come over for a breakfast play date with the kids, and I made her an instant Aldi coffee, and she was very impressed. Quite enjoyed it. Honestly, I've trained myself to drink instant. During my years as an architecture student, the only coffee I could get would be out of a vending machine. So you get used to drinking very horrific coffee. So I just go straight black Aldi coffee now, and it's actually really good. Hashtag not sponsored, but I wish I could be. So, housing affordability and poor quality housing among the top issues for young renters, a survey found. High rental prices, poor quality housing, and fear of eviction are among some of the top concerns for young renters, a new report has found, alongside dodgy landlords and lack of repair work. I mean, with our experience, because we're renting a house up the street, and we identified repair issues the previous tenant didn't, and they've been all fixed. The one thing that was quite worrying, and I think we only saw it as an issue, was all of the rubbish under the house. Because we had a house in this street that was an ex-hoarder's house. There was stuff everywhere. And I can't really talk because I've got piles of timber that I have from a demolished house right now. But this is a short-term issue. But they had it was a hoarded house. It was hoarding. And, it was sold. Someone bought it. They pretty much gutted it and built a huge extension at the back and really, did it up. It looks beautiful. You wouldn't even know. But the house next to it, which is the one we're renting now, the son lived there, and he was a hoarder too. So underneath, everywhere in the cellar, under the floorboards, it was full of stuff. We got the landlord to get someone to come and remove it, because that's a health and safety hazard. It's a fire hazard underneath there, storing so much stuff. And they went and they did it. I don't blame them. It didn't cost them much, a couple of $100 to get someone with a truck. But so I think it's on a case-by-case basis. More than 80% of young people in New South Wales surveyed said the cost of rental properties was a key concern, with more than 70% already concerned about the cost of buying a home, according to a new report by the Tenants Union of New South Wales and Youth Action, a peak body for young people. More than 7 in 10 renters felt the quality of available housing was an issue, while 68% said repairs not being carried out was a key concern, with some also flagging they felt uncomfortable asking for repairs out of fear they would face a rent increase or lease termination. I get that's just lived experience if that's what you're feeling. I know when something's illegal in a building or a fire, so I'll phrase it differently. I'll say this is a health safety issue. You need to rectify this, or I'll rectify it and charge you for it. I guess that's the advantage of being old, grumpy, and a little bit more experienced. Maybe that the young people should listen to those who are a little bit older, maybe who have lived life a little bit longer and know that their dreams of a utopian socialist, happiness, are kind of garbage. And I may be coming down with something. That's why I'm probably a little extra grumpier and growlier this morning. And don't say I'm always like this, because that'll make me feel bad. The report, based on a survey of more than 300 young renters and findings from further roundabout discussions, noted that young people still living with their families were the least happy with their housing situation, while those that lived alone were the happiest. Well, of course, because it's seen as a failure if you're living at home with your parents. But all the people who were in the articles about, I bought 40 properties by the time I was 30, started off by just staying at home with their parents and saving, going nuts. Which some people will disparage, going, oh, look, they got the parental help. Well, yeah, guys, that's how life is. Families should stick together and help each other out. There's nothing wrong with that. That should be encouraged. The government shouldn't be your family unit, everyone. It shouldn't be, mum and the government. It should be family sticking together. Just like that, what's that car movie that everyone's watching? It's all about family. Fast and Furious, is it up to 9 now? I've got no idea. It's just going nuts. What's that? What that's telling me is that people are frustrated that they are not able to move out. Tenants Union of New South Wales Chief Executive Leo Patterson-Ross said, adding the findings showed young people were typically living with their family or in a share house out of necessity due to poor housing affordability, rather than preference. Well, yeah, of course. Everyone wants their own house. You don't want to share a house, and you don't want to stay at home. You want to be your own independent person. How's that news? How's that anything surprising? The frustration is really speaking to the affordability issue. People were able to move out much earlier in the past, particularly while they were studying. Now it's quite common for one person in a university class to be renting. For not one person, what? Oh, I can't believe that. Really? Maybe it could be. Those unable to stay living with family face record high housing rents of $550 per week on March figures, which could be a barrier to pursuing further education. Then stay home and save money if you're studying. There you go. There's the solution if you have that option. If not, get a job. University isn't for everyone, guys. Rent increases were also among the top concerns, flagged by 62% of survey participants, followed by dodgy landlords not fulfilling their responsibility at 58%, the risk of not getting a bond back, 58%, and uncertainty about when they may be asked to leave. About a quarter of respondents flagged problems with flatmates as a concern, while 28% highlighted problems with neighbours. Other worries were finding pet-friendly rentals, as well as unreasonably high expectations from landlords, bullying from real estate agents, and lack of availability of rental properties. At the same time, more than a quarter of respondents, 28%, felt they'd experienced discrimination due to their age, with their lack of rental history putting them at a disadvantage to older renters. Yeah, that's life, guys. Okay, I've had that too when we were students. A further 21% experienced discrimination of another reason. This jumped to more than 40% among Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Mr. Patterson Ross said, more work needed to be done to ensure renters were protected from discrimination in the rental application process. With the report noting a start could be a standardized rental application, limiting the amount of information that could be legally requested from a tenant. There you go. Why do you want to be a landlord? You can't even pick. You can't even pick who can go into your property. Shouldn't people be able to discriminate? What's wrong with that? Oh, well, our government discriminates all the time. They call it positive affirmation. They'll discriminate against you based on your race, based on your gender, based on your sexual preference. All of those things will be used to discriminate against you. The government does it. Why can't individuals do? It's a funny world we're living in. Really is a bloody stupid clown world, isn't it? It's just getting ludicrous. The report also suggested a system of general licensing or registration for landlords. Oh, come on. They want you to get a license for being a landlord. They're just going to turn all of you into public housing landlords. Bloody, oh, come on. This is just getting so stupid. Look at this calls for intervention in private sector in the market. People think we're in a free market here in Australia. They've got no idea. No idea at all. Tell me why. The only reason you want to be a landlord, I imagine, is for the capital gains, for housing. Do you really want to deal with all this shit? Do you want to deal with these people? The more of this crap that they put in, the more houses will sit empty. Okay? They're going to add a whole lot of bullshit to the process of being a landlord, and then if people can, they'll just sit them empty. It's a cultural thing as well. You got Asian investors, they'll keep them empty because it reduces the value. And they'll be bloody picky too with who they let in their place. Come on. Don't be so naive to think it won't make a difference. Oh boy. It's too early for this, everyone. Think about housing quality and look at this. There's calls for intervention again, calls for control, calls for licensing for landlords. This wasn't meant to be a rant video. I'm bloody tired and grumpy. I've been digging out posts all day the last few days and having to deal with this crap. Where's the counter-argument? Where is highlighting the fact, of course, it's domain. There's not going to be. It's advertising, hidden as journalism. Anyway, so there needs to be a power imbalance between landlords and tenants. There is a power imbalance. One of them owns a property and the other one doesn't. That's called life. That's the whole point of life, is that you're gonna encounter power imbalances again and again and again. So you've got to work bloody hard to overcome them, even in relationships. There's a sexual market value power imbalance there too. Maybe we need to have licenses to date. How about that? Do people really think like this? Do they think this type of stuff is a good idea? Do they not see the consequences of what they're proposing? Unbelievable. Boosting the supply. Oh, here we go. Affordable housing again. More of the socialism garbage. Public housing. Boosting the supply of affordable housing and ending no grounds evictions would also be key, as it would make it easier for renters to find a home and give them more confidence to request repairs or query other issues if they knew they could not face retaliatory evictions. Mr. Patterson-Ross said, boosting supply would also reduce competition and probably discrimination. If we don't address no grounds evictions, we're really setting this group up for decades of renting with that fear of being evicted over them, which is a bleak future, Mr. Patterson-Ross said. What do you think, everyone? I mean, the whole affordable housing stuff. Seeing how our Greens member here in Brisbane is advocating against a development out of Ipswich because it happens to be next to Indigenous land or a retreat or a camp or something. And they've even had archaeologists scour through the area where the development is. Nothing's been identified or found. And these houses there would cost about 400, 500 grand. Half the price of what his inner city constituents are. And yet they're all virtue signaling. So they can keep this land that's sitting there useless. This isn't on the camp. It's next to it. Across the road. So, yeah. If you want affordable housing, you need to open up land. You need to make it cheaper to build. You need to get the government out of property. So what's the solution to this? Well, I'm not going to talk about getting off the housing. I'm going to put another idea out there. And this is about body corporates being held accountable for maintenance. This has come out of seeing what's happened in Florida, everyone. Seeing how they had years of structural issues being identified and about $9 million of repair costs. Buildings deteriorate over time. A house will deteriorate. You have to spend money every year rectifying it. Or, you leave it go. And the previous owner has let this place go. So I've got to replace all the gutters. I've got to do a whole lot of stuff, which is just part of it. It's why I got it so cheap. What about body corporates? You're buying into one of these socialist towers. That's what it is. It's a little microcosm of socialism. You've got to deal with a bunch of idiots, a whole bunch of Napoleons on the body corporate that all want their little power games. And you've got to work with them to get the building, keep it up to code. And there's a potential for corruption. There's a potential for dodginess. Body corporates need to be held accountable. The members sitting on them need to be held accountable for criminal neglect or negligence if an issue costs their life. There's life safety issues in these buildings that can manifest that people don't realize. Keeping stuff clean, keeping it waterproof, that can manifest years later with significant issues. What about off the plan? I shake my head whenever we read an article about a genius buying off the plan, and then all of a sudden, okay, we didn't get what we bought because you just bought the right to buy, a section of a plan, not what they're showing you as a concept was marketing. Didn't mean anything. You need to have all the people, and this is an idea Rachel came up with, all the people who buy off the plan get to sit at the table with the developer's decisions at every meeting. Not all of them may be a representative, but has a vote, has a say, has input in the development because it's their money making it go ahead. Then you'll have people that have an interest in ensuring easier maintenance, long-term quality, and ensuring that the building is built to their needs. It's kind of a little different to the developer's needs. There's an idea. Notice how none of them, we're not calling for more government inspections. The market needs to come up with a solution. Everything else is just theatre, guys. Licensing for landlords. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon, sign up for SelfWealth or Stake, use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve or AussieBroadband. Buy our merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.